I am not going to lie. The second Amber said Trevor's name, it felt like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed my heart until I could not breathe. For a few seconds I just stared at her, trying to process the fact that the woman who had spent years destroying every relationship I had ever cared about was now standing in my apartment telling me that the first healthy man I had connected with in years was the father of her child. It sounded insane, unreal, like some twisted joke the universe had decided to play on me. But Amber was crying so hard mascara was running down her cheeks, and for once she did not look polished or calculated. She looked desperate. I crossed my arms tightly and tried to steady my voice. Why are you really here, Amber? Because this does not feel like some friendly warning. This feels like you saw me happy again and suddenly remembered I exist. Her face crumpled instantly. That is not fair, Riley. I came because you deserve the truth. I laughed so sharply it surprised even me. The truth? You disappeared every single time I stopped dating a wealthy guy. You sabotaged my relationships, lied to me for years, and now you suddenly care about honesty? She flinched at that, but she did not deny it. Instead, she sat down on the edge of my couch and stared at the floor like she could not bear to look at me. She admitted everything slowly, like every sentence physically hurt her to say. She told me that after Trevor kicked her out, she bounced between friends' apartments for months because most of the men she used to rely on no longer wanted anything to do with her once they found out she had a child. She said Trevor had tried to make things work after Brooklyn was born, but she kept cheating on him with richer men because she hated the idea of settling down with someone who worked construction. She actually used the word settling, and something inside me snapped hearing it. Trevor woke up at 5 every morning to provide for his daughter while Amber chased expensive dinners and designer handbags from men who barely respected her. And somehow she still saw herself as the victim. The more she talked, the more pieces started falling into place in my head. The disappearing acts, the sudden reappearances whenever I dated someone successful, the constant need to insert herself into my relationships. Amber did not actually want my boyfriends. What she wanted was the validation of proving she could take attention away from me whenever she wanted. She needed to feel chosen, superior, powerful, and the second she sensed another woman was happy, especially me, she could not stand it. I asked her one question that had been haunting me for years. Did you try to ruin things with Marcus on purpose? She did not answer immediately. That silence told me everything before she even opened her mouth. Finally, she whispered, I did not think he was right for you. I laughed again, but this time there was nothing funny in it. You told his boss I was planning to quit my job and get pregnant. You made me insecure about women around him. You inserted yourself into every moment of our relationship. And now you are acting like you were protecting me. Amber started crying harder. I was jealous, okay? I hated how happy you looked with him. You always looked at your boyfriends like they hung the moon, and eventually they always stopped paying attention to me. I hated that feeling. That confession hit me harder than I expected. Not because it surprised me, but because it confirmed something painful. My best friend had never really loved me the way I loved her. I had spent years defending someone who saw my happiness as competition. I stood up and walked toward the kitchen because I physically could not sit near her anymore. My hands were shaking while I poured myself a glass of water. Behind me, Amber kept talking, almost frantically now. Trevor still loves me, Riley. I know he does. He is just angry about what happened. But seeing you with him ... it destroyed me. I need you to stay away from him. I turned around slowly. Stay away from him. You came to my apartment after ghosting me for almost a year to ask me to give up my boyfriend because you cheated on him and now regret it? She stood up too, wiping tears from her cheeks. He's my family. We have a child together. You owe me this. That sentence actually made me speechless. After everything she had done, she still believed I owed her something. I walked to the door and opened it. You need to leave. Her expression changed instantly from desperate to angry. So that is it? You are really choosing some guy over me? I looked directly at her, and for the first time in my life I answered honestly. No, Amber, I am finally choosing myself. She stared at me for a second like she genuinely could not believe I had said that. Then she grabbed her purse and stormed out without another word. The second the door slammed shut, my knees almost gave out beneath me. I slid down against the wall and cried harder than I had cried in years. Not because of Trevor, not even because of Amber. I cried because I realized I had spent over a decade begging for scraps of love from someone who only kept me around when it benefited her. The next morning I called Trevor and told him everything. Every single thing. I expected him to be shocked or defensive, but instead he just sounded tired. He told me Amber had always been manipulative in ways that were difficult to explain to people who had not experienced it themselves. One minute she could be incredibly charming and vulnerable, and the next she could weaponize your insecurities with surgical precision. He admitted that when they first started dating, he felt special because she made him feel needed. But eventually he realized she only showed affection when she wanted something. We met that evening at his apartment after Brooklyn had gone to sleep. I was nervous walking in because part of me still wondered if this situation was too messy to survive. But the second Trevor opened the door and wrapped his arms around me, I felt some of the fear loosen inside my chest. We sat on the couch for hours talking honestly about everything. He answered every question I had, even the uncomfortable ones. He told me Amber had cheated throughout most of their relationship and constantly compared him to wealthier men. He said she hated that construction was not glamorous enough for her image, even though his company was successful and growing fast. At one point he looked at me quietly and asked, "Do you want to leave?" I frowned. What, because of all this? Because she is involved, I would understand. My heart broke a little hearing the insecurity in his voice. That man had been hurt so deeply by someone who made him feel like he was never enough. I reached for his hand and squeezed it tightly. No, I'm tired of letting Amber ruin things that make me happy. For the first time in years, I actually meant those words. Things were peaceful for about 3 weeks after that conversation. Too peaceful. Looking back now, I should have known Amber would not give up so easily. One Friday afternoon I got called into my manager's office at work. The second I walked in and saw the uncomfortable look on her face, my stomach dropped. She closed the door gently and said, "Riley, we received an anonymous email this morning claiming you have been leaking confidential client information to competitors." My entire body went cold. What? My manager explained that the email included screenshots of conversations and partial documents that looked concerning at first glance. But after their IT department investigated, they realized the screenshots were fake. Poorly edited, still, company policy required them to speak with me. I already knew who had done it before my manager even finished talking. Amber. There was no proof, but I knew. She had always attacked indirectly, planting little bombs and then stepping back to watch the damage. My manager reassured me that my job was safe, but I spent the rest of the day shaking with anger. That night I showed Trevor the email. His jaw tightened instantly. "She is spiraling," he muttered. I wanted to believe that would be the end of it, but it was only the beginning. Amber started showing up everywhere. She appeared outside Trevor's building during custody exchanges with Brooklyn, suddenly wanting to spend more time together as a family. She posted cryptic quotes online about betrayal and fake friends. She even sent me a text from a random number saying, "Hope he was worth it." I blocked every number she used, but new ones kept appearing. Trevor finally had to threaten legal action before she backed off for a while. The worst moment came 2 months later at Brooklyn's birthday party. Trevor and I had been dating long enough that he invited me to come. I was nervous because it would be my first time really spending time with Brooklyn in person, but she was adorable. Tiny curls, big brown eyes, nonstop energy. She immediately dragged me toward her toys and started showing me everything she owned like we had known each other forever. Watching Trevor with his daughter honestly melted me. He was patient, attentive, completely different from the selfish men Amber usually chased. The party was going well until Amber arrived. The second she walked through the door, the atmosphere changed. She looked stunning, of course. Amber always knew how to weaponize beauty when she wanted something. Tight dress, perfect makeup, expensive heels that probably cost more than my monthly grocery bill. She smiled brightly when she saw everyone, but the second her eyes landed on me, the warmth disappeared. At first she behaved herself. She laughed with guests, played with Brooklyn, even complimented the cake I brought. I started thinking maybe she had finally accepted reality. Then I overheard her talking to one of Trevor's relatives in the kitchen. "Poor Trevor," she sighed dramatically. "He always rushes into relationships because he is scared of being alone. I just hope Riley understands what she signed up for." My chest tightened immediately. There it was again, the poison. Quiet, subtle, designed to spread slowly. Later that evening she cornered me near the hallway bathroom. "I do not know what game you think you are playing," she whispered, "but Trevor and I are connected forever. You will never win against that." I stared at her calmly, and for the first time I realized I was not afraid of her anymore. "This is not a competition, Amber. That is your problem. You think everything is about winning." Her face hardened instantly. Easy for you to say when you have always had everything handed to you." I almost laughed at the insanity of that statement. She truly believed her own narrative. A week later, Trevor called me while I was at work. His voice sounded strangely calm. "Amber moved to Miami," he said. I blinked in surprise. "What?" "Apparently she met some older guy online, real estate investor, lots of money. She packed up and left yesterday. She barely even told me." My first reaction should have been relief, but honestly I just felt sad. Not for the friendship, that was long dead. I felt sad for Brooklyn. That little girl deserved consistency, not a mother who treated her life like a revolving door. Months passed after that, real peaceful months. The kind where your nervous system slowly learns it does not have to stay in survival mode anymore. Trevor and I grew closer in ways I had never experienced before. We built routines together: Sunday grocery shopping, movie nights with Brooklyn, early morning coffee before work while he complained about contractors and I vented about clients. Ordinary things, stable things, and after years of emotional chaos, stability felt almost unfamiliar at first. One night, about a year into our relationship, Trevor and I were sitting on the balcony of his apartment after Brooklyn fell asleep. The city lights reflected off the buildings around us while soft music played from inside. He looked at me quietly for a long moment before reaching into his pocket. My heart immediately started pounding. "Riley," he said softly, "I know life with me is not perfect. I come with baggage and responsibilities and early mornings and probably too much sawdust. But you are the healthiest thing that has ever happened to me." Then he pulled out a ring. I started crying before he even finished asking. We got married the following spring in a small outdoor ceremony surrounded by close friends and family. My mom cried through the entire thing. Brooklyn threw flower petals everywhere except the aisle. Trevor looked at me during our vows with so much love in his eyes that I thought my heart might burst. And for the first time in my adult life, I felt safe, truly safe. Amber was not there, of course. I had not spoken to her in over a year. Occasionally I would hear updates through mutual acquaintances. Her relationship in Miami crashed and burned after 6 months. Then another wealthy boyfriend came and went. Same cycle, different names. I stopped caring eventually. About 3 months after the wedding, I received an email from her. Just one sentence: "I really did love you in my own way." I stared at that message for a long time before deleting it. Maybe she did love me in the only way she knew how. But some people confuse possession with love. Some people only feel close to others when they have control over them. And once I understood that, I stopped mourning the friendship we lost because the truth was, it never really existed the way I thought it did. The real lesson took me years to learn. Sometimes the people who have known you the longest are not the people who deserve access to you forever. History does not equal loyalty. Shared memories do not excuse repeated betrayal. And no matter how badly you want to save someone, you cannot heal people who enjoy hurting others to feel powerful. Trevor once told me something during our first year together that I never forgot. We were lying in bed talking about everything we had both survived, and he looked at me quietly before saying, "Peace feels boring when you are used to chaos. But boring is good. Boring means nobody is trying to destroy you." He was right, and after everything Amber put me through, peace became the most beautiful thing I had ever known.